Hello aspirants, this is me Yasmin Gill presenting to you the PIB highlights of 4th of January. So hope you all are doing good and actually following and loving the course. So if you feel the course is useful to you, so do not forget to rate and review it. And how can you do so? Quickly go on Unacademy. Now you can search PIB January. Why? Because there is a separate course live for it. So once you search PIB January, you will come across various courses. Just click on the required course, and once you click on it, under review section, you can write a review as well as give star ratings. Also, before, if you cannot understand all this, so just check on the overview lesson. There it is very properly depicted via the help of pictures, and also the timing etc. of the course is very well given there. So just do check overview lesson of the same. So let's begin. Firstly, we have society and related issues, birthday of Sir Louis Braille. So he was basically a French educator who came up with a new script for blind people, which is known as Braille today. So also important is, do remember Department of Empowerment of People with Disabilities, or what we today know as Divyangan. It comes under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Next, we have under Polity and Governance two very informative articles, and these are not from PIB, these are from Indian Express. Also, do know me if in case you do not want such articles to be put during the PIB lecture. Just do put your comments in the your views in the comment section. So beginning with this article, see, we know Cabinet has recently approved coming up with a permanent water tribunal for solving interstate water disputes. Now this permanent water tribunal, evident from the name itself, permanent. So see, till now we used to have Interstate Water Disputes Act, right? So under Interstate Water Disputes Act, we have temporary and exclusive tribunals. So by temporary and exclusive, I mean, so for example, there is a dispute going on, for example, between Beas and Ravi river. So there will be a separate tribunal for Beas and Ravi dispute. Then suppose there is a dispute regarding Krishna river. So there will be a separate tribunal for Krishna river, and so on. So all this adds to long delays and extreme amount of litigation. So see, this particular tribunal, that is permanent water tribunal, is permanent in nature, plus it is a middle ground. Now what do we mean by saying that it is a middle ground? So it's a middle ground because it falls between two extreme points which are put forward. So on one extreme, there was a point put forward that we have to do away or repeal Interstate Water Disputes Act, so that directly the power of adjudication of interstate water disputes come to Supreme Court. This was one view, but this would have gone against Article 262, which forbids Supreme Court intervention. On the other hand, there was a status quo proposal whereby just mere amendments to this particular act were sufficient. But see, this particular act, that is Interstate Water Disputes Act, had been amended a lot of number of times, but still the disputes go on. So basically, neither was this successful, nor was the other extreme successful. So we took up Permanent Water Tribunal as a middle ground. Now, though it would be formed by an amendment to Interstate Water Disputes Act, but it will not go against constitutional provisions. Also, another committee, that is Dispute Redressal Committee, would be formed to mediate dispute before the dispute reaches to a PWT, that is Permanent Water Tribunal. So first dispute can come here, and later on it can go to Permanent Water Tribunal. So there is a two-step sort of mechanism. Other than that, see, now all sounds good. It's good if there is a Permanent Water Tribunal, but there are a lot of buts and special issues. So what are these? What if water disputes are turned into political opportunities? Very much important. Second, states have gone to the extent to defy or go against Supreme Court orders and not obeying them, which was evident in the recent Kaveri dispute as well. Also, Supreme Court itself has said that such disputes can come to Supreme Court via special leave petition. Firstly, do mention in the comment section under what article do we have special leave petition. So in case these disputes ultimately have to come to Supreme Court, and there is an extended litigation and lot of time taken to process all the cases and all. So what's the point of forming a separate tribunal when the ultimate power rests with the Supreme Court? Other than that, the nature of water disputes are very unique. Why? In our country, most of the disputes are transboundary disputes. So see, boundaries of states, both of whichever are disputing, right, two or more than two states, they are permanently formed. They won't change now. Okay? It's very less evident that such boundaries and new states do form, right? So in that context, such disputes will go on continuing. So it's a permanent contestation. That is one point. Second point is obviously political. Also, there are certain other points which are noteworthy in solving the water dispute. For example, River Boards Act, which is now merely a dead letter, could be revived. And at last, you could also attempt this particular question. Next, we have Supreme Court verdict on electoral process. Again, an article from Indian Express written by Pratap Bahanu Mehta. So very informative and a different sort of view. So what he says that it is not new that appeals to religion etc. are made in elections. It was always done, and it was always prohibited as well. So what are the issues that he sees in this particular verdict? Firstly, he says the nature and scope of such a prohibition. So he says, for example, some political candidate comes forth on a rally and speaks about religion or caste or whatever. So is that particular just one mere reference to a religion, etc., a criteria to disqualify him? So he says that what is the point after which we would consider such a benchmark in order to disqualify him? Is a repeated mention to religion, etc., the benchmark, or just one mention would do? Second is Representation of People Act. It always applies after elections. So for example, a government is elected, now Representation of People Act is applied, and now we find that okay, that government violates election rallies, etc. It relied on points such as religion, caste, etc. Now that means that government has to go away and it has to be thrown out. So that will involve risks of overturning mandates. Next we have, Pratap Bhavna Mehta also says that a Supreme Court judgment is a very poor judgment. Why? Because he cites various of the reasons, the first being methodological problem, whereby Supreme Court has not gone into the fact that how will this law be actually implemented in practice, and has merely focused on the theoretical parts. It is merely focused on, okay, India is a secular country and so on, elections are secular, but as far as the practical portion goes, it has given less prominence or less importance to that particular point. Second is, it lacks legal integrity. What we mean by it is, see, we have not clearly defined what are religious issues, what are non-religious issues. So, for example, a leader campaigning on the name of beef ban could tomorrow go on and say that, okay, beef ban is not related to religion, it is merely related to a livelihood of people. And similarly, for example, issues such as Ram Temple, people might contest these are not related to religion, rather they are historical contestations or historically linked issues and not related to religion. So these also, be careful, do not mention such extreme points. This is just for your understanding. Lastly, he also contends that if we actually go by the Supreme Court judgment, and which by the way gives a very broad interpretation. Now this particular interpretation might actually outlaw many of such parties which are formed merely on the basis of caste, on the basis of religion, etc. Next, what about the social struggle in Indian politics? Even the constitution goes on to protect the linguistic minorities, etc., and they have a particular right to contest forward for their for the language preservation, etc. So are language movements then to be outlawed? And lastly, Representation of People Act already regulates hate speech. So why is there a need for a separate prohibition on it? Next, this is one particular question which you can attempt regarding to ordinance making. Under international relation, we have MERCOSUR. MERCOSUR is a trading bloc in Latin America, and India relation with MERCOSUR is that India has signed a preferential trade agreement with this particular bloc. So one of the countries is Uruguay. Do mention in the comment section which are the other countries in this particular bloc. We did it once in PIB October issue. So do mention in the comment section. Next we have foreign policy direction. So I won't be going into the detail of this particular snippet. You just see, this is something which is a very open sort of question. If you are asked to comment upon what is the changed foreign policy direction after the new government came to power, you could mention numerous amount of points, right? So we'll just go on the main ones, or just to give you an overview. See, it's very simple. Do remember the subjects of your UPSC exam. So there's culture, there is environment, there is politics, there is economics, etc. So there is economic diplomacy. If you look on the security issue, there is defense diplomacy. Then you have cultural diplomacy, for example, yoga, Buddhism, etc. Then you have economic diplomacy, for example, provision of grants and getting those grants, etc. So these are how you can break up the foreign policy direction which is now formed. Also, the whole basis for it is Sampark and Samvad. So I could not understand the word of Samvad. If any one of you does, do mention in the comment section. It's a Hindi word. As far as Sampark goes, it means contact. Now foreign policy, we know it is not restricted to particular few countries, or so it is now gone multipolar. We are consulting range of countries. For example, African nations. Then we have Pacific Island nations as well. Then also certain I would say aspects of foreign policy can never be neglected. For example, relation with US, relation with China, relation with Russia, neighborhood relations, etc. Then also do mention in the comment section increased focus on diaspora, not in the comment section, in the foreign policy question, increased focus on diaspora, humanitarian angle, disaster relief efforts, etc., which we carry on in foreign countries. So this is all which can be formed under the foreign policy change to direction. Next we have economics, and in economics we have IPR Enforcement Toolkit. So this is a toolkit which has been developed by Ministry of Commerce. The exact institute is CPAM under DIPP. So this is particularly to help police figure out the IPR related cases, and also there is a separate IPR awareness campaign for children to make children aware about the IPR issues, which is the same as what was thought of under National IPR Policy 2016. Then we have certain other measures by Ministry of Commerce which you can go through from here. Then we have Bhavishya portal, which is for pension cases evident from the name itself. And there is this skill development service. Also, you can go through this MCQ. So that's it for today. And